best tools you can afford. These are so simple to use. You simply score the glaze. I haven't done that one very well because I was rushing. But if you've got a good tile cutter, you'll be able to do that. It's really easy. You know, all you have to do is score the glaze. You don't have to cut the plaster behind it, okay? If you've got difficult, misshaped cuts, if you're going around pipes and things, there are saws and drills you can buy, okay? These are tile saws. They're called hole saws, especially for our ceramic tiles. You can buy a box of these. It's about 35 quid for all these, for the different sizes, but you can actually buy them in individual sizes. If you don't want to buy them, believe it or not, you can go and hire them. This is another thing about tools. Given that there is a tool for every job you ever want to do, you can also hire it. 2 or 3 quid for the day or something, plus a deposit, and you've done the job so much more quickly. It's so much easier. Just go and find out the tool. If you're not sure of the tool you need, go to one of the DIY forums. We have a particularly large forum. There's about 40,000 people on our forum at any one time. Ask the question. Go to the tiling section, ask the question, and somebody will come back to you within a couple of hours. Normally a tradesman, because they love giving they love giving advice and helping out. And showing how clever we are. So ask the question, find out what's the best way of doing this job, okay? In a lot of cases, this is the best way. It's a tile saw. This is called an arbor. For anybody that's never used a drill like this, this is called an arbor, and it goes into your chuck. And then the size of drill you need simply screws on to that clockwise, so that as the drill's spinning, all it does is tighten itself up. Okay? So that's an arbor and a hole saw. You can buy them for metal, wood, everything. But these are specifically for ceramic tiles. My trousers keep falling down. It's because I'm a builder. Sorry. This is a tile saw. Carborundum blade and some other wonderful physics, metal, tungsten or whatever it is, I don't know. If you're going to use this to cut tricky shapes, make sure you've got it on a firm surface. I actually don't have one. I finished the plastering seminar late, so. But you know, they're relatively easy to use, and they're surprisingly sharp. So, you know, you can cut pretty much any shape you want with one of these. This is why there's such a great distance between the blade and the shoulder. So that it allows you to turn, so you can turn that and go in that direction, turn it and go in that. So that will allow you to fret out the shape that you want to cut. But to get that shape in the first place sometimes isn't easy. You bump into this, your toilet pipe. We've deliberately moved the toilet because there isn't any part of a toilet that you actually have to cut round. It's just the pipe behind it that you have to cut round. So we got the toilet out of the way so you could see. So you have a toilet pipe, and you can see here, because we've marked it on the wall, it's going to go here, so that needs to be cut out. Because we've marked the tiles on the wall, it should be fairly simple to get that shape. But you can't play with the tile, you can't can't do a great deal of trial and error with it. So let's go back to the most simple process in the world. We go to, I bet everybody in here has got a cardboard box in their loft, for an old printer came in or something, and we'll just cut some out the same size as the tile. And then we'll get a Stanley knife or some scissors and we'll have a play. And that's a template. So when we come to our tile, we know it's going to fit perfectly. There's no doubt about it. So there's there's no chance taken in tiling if you do it properly. You know exactly what you're doing all of the time. And if you screw up with one bit of cardboard, let's get another one. You know? So you know exactly when you transfer that shape to that tile. I've got no... Yes, I have a box full of them. When you transfer the shape to that tile, that one's broken, but never mind. You simply draw around that line, and then you can use your tile saw to cut it. What we do is that, as you can see, from the start of our curve there to the finish of the curve, we can draw a straight line there, and we can do that using that contractor's tile cutter. So we can snap that bit off straight away. So we haven't got so much to mess around with. And then we can use our tile saw, and we can using that, we could probably get right the way around that curve. But if we run into trouble, we can use these. These are called tile nips. Okay, and you don't take a lot off at a time, just little nibbles, and they will allow you to cut any shape you like. You can cut L's and circles and all sorts, and if you want to do something really rather refined, you can use parrot nips. Can't imagine why they're called parrot nips, can you? And you can just trim away the tiny little rough pieces. I'm not going to spend too long on this, but that gives you some idea of what you can do just with a pair of nips. So there's a tool for everything you want to do in the bathroom and everywhere else, and these can be hired. They're not that expensive to buy, and ceramic tiling is something that you know, it's quite a handy thing to be able to do. So if you're in any doubt about your ability to do it, then just put a piece of board out in the garden for a little while. You can get a box of tiles for £3 and some adhesive. That's not expensive. Incidentally, you know, we use any old, well, not any old, but the DIY shed sells non-slip adhesive and stuff. That's perfectly okay for what you do. Pros don't use any different indoors. We actually prefer to buy powdered adhesive, largely because we're doing so many square meters in a week that it's considerably cheaper to do that. It works out about half the price of ready-mixed adhesive, but for one job that you're going to do at home, ready-mixed adhesive is fine. Please don't fall into the trap of using this awful stuff, which is fix and grout. This is the B&Q version, but a lot of places will sell you a tub of adhesive that is also the grout. Oh, please don't go anywhere near it. It's horrible. By its very nature, the stuff has to be sticky to stick the tiles to the wall. You don't need grout to be sticky. Grouting's hard enough as it is without trying to peel it off the tiles while you're doing it. So, you know, just stick the tiles to the wall with adhesive and then grout with grout. We've created this shape in our tile. I don't know what this is going to go round yet, but well, perhaps nothing. Well, we can trim that up. We can make that neater. These are called tile files, imaginatively again. And we can simply file that. And in a second you can see just how smooth that is by using the proper tool. That's how simple it is. Tile files come in all sorts of shapes and sizes. This is also a tile file. That would be used to get a smooth edge. So looking at that, you can't distinguish between the manufactured edge and the filed edge. So if you need to use that, you can use that. There is a tool for every single thing you want to do. Tile files come in big flats. This one is called half round. They come in what's called a rat's tail version, which is a completely round file that comes to a point at the end. So you can start off with a tiny hole that you've drilled and enlarge it to a bigger one. There's a tool for every job. Just find out what it is. Ask somebody. Okay, so we need to go back for a second and get the adhesive on the wall. Okay, this is a quarry tile adhesive trowel for the floor. The tiles generally are a lot bigger on the floor, a lot heavier, and they need a bigger ridge. This would be a wall adhesive trowel that you would probably use. It's notched. It's notched for a reason. It's notched so, I don't know if anybody was at the previous plastering seminar, but there's a principle in the construction industry, and at this point I want to point out, first of all, that there's no such thing as an expert DIYer. An expert DIYer is a builder. Simple as that. You're governed by the same principles we are. The same laws apply in your house as they do to us. Building regulations, they're called. There's nothing that you do at home that we don't do, and conversely, there's nothing that we do that you don't do. You know, they're all governed by the same rules and regulations. So, if you're a good DIYer, that's great. If you're an expert DIYer, you're a builder. One of the defining principles in your home is what's called the principle of uniform thickness. If you have let me give you an example. If you've got a pencil, I don't have a pencil, but if you had a pencil, you could hold your pencil like that and you could give it a little bend and that would be perfectly fine. That would keep its integrity. If you got a saw or a Stanley knife and you just took a little nick out of the underside of that pencil and you went like that, it would break. And that is because you have not maintained its uniform thickness. Yeah? That principle applies in your foundation trenches. If you've got a cowboy builder and he's dug your foundation trenches, but while you're not looking, he's kicked a few rocks in there to get rid of them, that ruins the integrity of your foundation, because as the concrete passes over those rocks, it's made that little nick that you've just made in the pencil. It weakens your foundations. You put a big load on that end and a big load at that end, and by a big load I mean like a house, it will break. That's where settlement comes from. It will break. The same thing applies to every section of your building. Your floor slab must have uniform thickness. Your floor screed should have uniform thickness. The tiles, carpet, and everything, the wood that you put on the floor has uniform thickness. Take a look at it when you get home. The plaster you put on the wall is the same thickness, uniform thickness. Even the paint that goes on the plaster, put it on too thick in one place, it runs. Put it on too thin, and the difference between the thick bit and the thin bit, you'll get a little crack down it and a blister. The principle of uniform thickness. Okay, same applies to wall tile adhesive. That's why the notches are there. The trowel touches the wall. As you move along the wall, the notches make sure that you've got a completely uniform thickness of adhesive on your wall. Why do I need a uniform thickness as well as keeping the integrity? Because when I want to tile it, I push this tile gently on the wall, give it a little wiggle, and that allows the gaps in that are being caused by the notches to collapse where necessary into the trenches that the notches call as well. So that allows every part of this tile to be touched by adhesive. So it's got a uniform adhesion. It's not just touching there and there, so it wobbles, it's all touched. So you can, and it also allows you to make sure the front of your tiles on a wall that's a bit Humpty Bumpty, it allows the front of your tiles to be completely flush. So when you run your hand along, and we sometimes do a level trick, and we'll tile a section of wall, and we put the level on it. And we just go like that with the level. And that shouldn't catch any lips at all. That should just glide smoothly over the surface. Then you've got it right. And that's what the thickness of adhesive does. It allows you to move the tile around to get it in the right place. So that's the principle of uniform thickness as it is used with tiling. So we have the adhesive on the wall, we put the tiles on the wall. Another thing I want to point out is that another huge mistake made by DIYers, and it isn't your fault, it's the manufacturer's fault, and it's the bloody television's fault. People use wall tile spacers on the wall like this. Okay? So you're spacing 4 tiles using that spacer. Okay? And then they leave the spacers in there. Don't do that. Don't do that at all. We're going back now to the principle of uniform thickness. If you leave that spacer in there, the grout covering that spacer is infinitely thinner than the grout that's in the rest of the joints. There's a weak spot. If you're tiling a bathroom and you have a weak spot by a shower or somewhere like that, the only thing that's going to happen is the water's going to get behind the tile.